recording. Hello. Okay, we should be live. I'm gonna post the announcements. There we go. Announcement. Another announcement. Go to live stream one. There we go. Another announcement. And one social announcement. So let me post this. Oh, we got people in chat. Hello. Post this one. And post this one. Come on. Post. There we go. Hello. Oh, and I have to do like the... I have to do the Blue Sky Live thing. I wish there was the easier way to do it. I always forget how to do it. Oh, there we go. Go live. Nope. Wrong thing. Where's... Oh, there's go live. Go live. I should also remember the URL. I always have to like type it in. Hello everyone, can you hear us fine? There we go, I'll be live. Come on. The interface is painful. Go live, there we go. Ugh. Hello. Music slightly loud, let me lower it. Is this better? Okay, is music good now? Hello Lexo. Hello with Karagai Jane, Brokerage and Flags. It's all blue. Everyone's blue. We've got blue people. Hello everyone. Welcome to another stream. I'm gonna close these things. There we go. So I'm not... This is not eating my... There we go. Hello everyone. Oh, there's 3 people now. Hello Deveros, Harold, Nuki-kun. They're watching ads. Yay. Oh my god, Alexa was green. Look, like literally at the start, everybody's blue. Everyone's blue and we got more colors. Hello. Hello, Amelia. Got more people. Hello. Hello. Ultimalas. Getting people in. Hello. And welcome to another Resonance. So, I'm Froox, I'm here with Syra, and we're gonna be answering your questions for about the next 2 hours. So feel free to ask whatever you want about Resonite. It can be technical questions, like, you know, design questions, philosophical, community, like whatever you want to ask, even personal things, feel free to ask anything. Some questions we might be like, you know, you might get better answer, you know, in the moderation office hours or our team office hours, but you know, that's the worst case, we'll just redirect you somewhere else, or maybe we give you basic answer and feel like you can get better answer, you know, from this team. So make sure to put like a question mark whenever you ask a question. That way it kind of pops on our list of the pinned messages, and we will not miss it, hopefully, if it is a question mark. So yeah, we should be ready. And also we have a number of questions from Discord, so we're gonna go through those. We're gonna go through those first, and once those are kind of done, we're gonna go back, you know, to the Twitch questions. So, but feel free to ask them now. Also, like, you know, we have like a few, like, you know, piling up. There's also a thing we were gonna ask you. So you're gonna get asked questions, because one of the things we want to start doing is doing, you know, like tier ranking lists, like, you know, where it's like things like S tier, A tier, B tier, so on, and we're gonna be looking for ideas what we should do for the first one. You know, like, for example, rating Resonite components or nodes or tools and other stuff. So we're gonna get to that, but just, you know, start thinking about it now, and we're gonna be asking you at some point. So let me put the camera here, so it's in there. And let's start going through the questions from Discord. This might be kind of shuffled because it kind of, whenever I pull them in. So the first question from Discord is from ShadowX, and ShadowX asking, when Resonite goes out of beta, are there any plans for update scheduling? For example, could there be monthly updates version does YYY plus hotfix? So this is not one specifically with going out of beta. I think it's going to happen, at some point before then. Very likely when we implement Molecule, that's going to provide us tooling, which will allow us to make more sort of automated builds and build releases. And we probably want to switch to more like a regular release. Because we can easily have multiple branches, stuff is being tested, people can switch to different builds, and then we can be whatever makes it in, whatever gets approved gets merged into builds, say every Tuesday or something like that, gets merged in, and that gets released on that day, so it's a little bit more predictable. Right now the community is still kind of small, so it makes some things a little bit more difficult. We usually do pre-releases for big things and things we can expect to be disruptive, but we can't do pre-release for every single feature because there's a lot of overhead with it. There's a lot of overhead, publishing the pre-release branches, organizing people, gathering feedback and so on. But when it's sort of automated, and you can literally be there's a launcher and it's there's pre-release of this feature, pre-release of this feature, pre-release of this feature. It's all fully automated. All we have to do is just push the code and be okay, this is ready for testing. That should help with the process, remove all of the overhead, and give us a little bit more kind of confidence for things, and while still maintaining good velocity for implementation. So it's gonna come. It's probably not gonna be tied specifically coming out of beta. It's more gonna be it's essentially gonna be once more kind of molecules comes around. Next question is from Ozzy. More of a personal one, the technical question, but somehow if you were able to show present-day Resonite to a version of yourself 10 years ago, how do you think they would react? Minus jump scare of their last April Fool's update. I think 10 years ago the last April Fool's update would just be kind of confusing. But I don't know, it depends, are you showing just the Resonite, itself as a software, or are you showing, the state of the community and stuff? I think for the software itself, I would probably just be said, I would think that would be more stuff, I guess, maybe? I don't know, it's always, I find, these questions kind of harder to answer, because it depends a lot of stuff, and it's kind of what kind of mindset I would be back then. I guess I would probably just be I wish there would be more stuff, I would have done more stuff over the time. I don't know. It always feels like being kind of slow.
I haven't even played here for 10 years, so
yeah.
I don't know, I would probably just I would firstly be confused at why a future version of myself is talking to me, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, next question from Discord is from Mintshock. Mintshock is asking, would having way more unique shaders in a scene significantly impact performance? Currently, we have a limited set of shaders and materials, but whenever we get custom ones, that would open a flood of doors to having avatars with 20 custom shaders. Would it be a valid concern, or is it modern hardware good enough where it doesn't really matter? So I don't think it would really have too much of a performance impact from having unique shaders by itself. Because even now, whenever a rendering happens, it's kind of, for each material, it kind of has to do a bunch of switching for the graphics pipeline and so on. And it's kind of, where there's overhead. But it kind of happens, if you have unique materials anyways. Usually having where you save performance, if you have if you use the same shaders and you also use the same materials, because then it can it can set up the graphics pipeline to render with particle texture, with particle settings and so on, and then there's a bunch of objects with that one without having to switch them constantly. So so it doesn't matter that much if it's on top of textures. Like, like if it's like, if it's like, like it doesn't matter like if it's like switching, the shader in addition to switching all the textures and other properties, that itself will not add that much overhead. Plus, oftentimes using different textures actually uses different shader in the backend because there's a number of different variants of those shaders. So I don't think having unique shaders on its own would have a significant impact. In fact, like I would actually say it might even be better just by the virtue of like running on a better renderer and using modern API like Vulkan. Because those APIs, they're specifically designed to reduce overhead of like this kind of switching. Those APIs, are more efficient in that matter. So that should, significantly help. Where it would like really like hurt probably is like what would be like with what those shaders actually do, because once you can create unique shaders, you can make shaders that are slow, that like very very heavy to run, and I would expect like most of the performance impact kind of coming from that, like people making very like heavy shaders that require a lot of like compute and a lot of memory bandwidth and maybe even like more like multiple passes to render something. So it'll probably come from that, but also it kind of on the flip side, it will allow for more optimization opportunities, because stuff like where people have to do like material stacking, for example, you can combine into a single shader. So instead of like re-rendering the mesh with material stacking multiple times, do it in a single shader, and that actually saves performance. So there's like more opportunities to optimize. So it'll heavily depend, what kind of content people make, but having the unique shaders themselves, like I don't think it's gonna hurt that much. Maybe like a bit more like for memory usage, but like there's still like a lot of, they're generally small, and there's already like a whole bunch of variants that are being loaded.
Yeah, we'll probably have a more like...
Thank you for the raid.
We'll probably have a more, like, what's the fancy buzzword? I guess streamlined set of default shaders as well at that point, because I imagine to get like the custom shaders, we'll probably have to like redo some of our built-in ones.
Or they all will be rebuilt essentially. Like all of our built-in shaders would just become shaders. Like they just be like shader like any other. It's all gonna use the same systems, and that's kind of the point. Is like it's gonna be like they're essentially just gonna become content. We're gonna make a conversion system. So if it takes this built-in, we're gonna be like, okay, this maps to the shader asset. But at that point, like, they're just content, they're not treated specially.
Yeah. My point being that, like, we'll probably have our built-in shaders will probably be nicer to use as well. So, like, you may find that you may not even need a custom shader for what you want to do at that point still. Well, it depends.
I do think a lot of people, like, I mean, that's also the point, like, the point, like, of converting the built-in shaders, into, like, content ones is people, like, if people want them, like, you want to tweak their behavior, instead of having to, like, make a completely, like, base one, like, you can just make a custom variants of it yourself. So, I do think there will be a lot of, like, variants and custom versions. So, I think, like, over time, like, the built-in ones are just gonna be, like, one of many.
Yeah.
But they're essentially going to be treated the same, like as everything else. Next question is from ShadowX. What canvas changes do and don't cause UIX meshes to update? So this is a little bit complicated depending, like, on the depth you want to go in. Generally, like, any sort of change to any of the components within the canvas will trigger update of the whole canvas. However, internally, there's like a system that sort of tracks changes. So it'll try to like update the least amount of meshes possible. So it'll generally check like can a change potentially result in a different visual for specific parts of the canvas? And the canvas is sort of like, chunked into something we call graphic chunks. So it'll try to isolate the changes, to graphic chunks. There's also internal calculations, like for example, it's gonna try to figure out, does it need to recompute the layout? So if like something doesn't change the layout, it's gonna skip recomputing that to save time, but it might still recompute the visuals because maybe you change the color, maybe you change the size. So generally anything that can potentially result in a visual change will cause the mesh to update. Next question we got is from Ledge. They are asking, just getting back to Resonite, so I'm a bit out of the loop. Last time I played, I used Froox to make simple stuff. Visual scripting is a little bit daunting when it comes to larger projects, in my opinion. Is there now any way to write code for the stuff I want to make in Resonite? We'll be able to run C# code with the Unity SDK. So the Unity SDK doesn't let you run C# code. That would be unfortunately very kind of dangerous. And in general, the Unity SDK it only allows you to convert, stuff from Unity into what Resonite currently supports. And we don't support running arbitrary C# code in big part for security reasons, because you could just easily put malicious code in and that would get synced to other users and it would be pretty bad. So you can only convert the stuff we support. The SDK itself, it doesn't currently have any UI for using Protoflex, but you can technically bring it over. However, the SDK is open source, and what I kind of hope is that some people in the community would be interested making UIs for it. So you can construct stuff within Unity, or using a subset of C#, because there's a project, or even other languages. There's the protograph one. So anyone in the community is free to make integrations with that. So you could code something in protograph, have it integrated with the Unity SDK, and it would convert to protoflex on Froox engine end. Eventually we do want to support WebAssembly. That's going to allow you to use lots of different languages where you can kind of write code and you can compile it in and bring it in as modules. So that would also open up a lot of options. But right now in its current state, SDK doesn't let you bring stuff that Resonite... Well, pretty much it will never allow you to bring in stuff that the Resonite doesn't support, because you can't, convert something into stuff that Resonite doesn't support, because there's nothing to convert it to. So, but Resonite does have Protoflex, so you can make workflows for the Unity SDK that would convert stuff to Protoflex. However, it hasn't been done yet. If anybody's interested in implementing, contributions are very much welcome, and it would kind of open up those kind of doors. We don't plan to invest time into that ourselves. We want to focus more on the in-game tools, which is one of the reasons we kind of made the Unity SDK open source, because we want to provide sort of the basis for it, but allow community to kind of and creators expand it and share their tools, with everyone else. Next question's also from Ledge. Found the Unity SDK GitHub page. I wasn't sure what the report is. Is this typo? Shouldn't be in other words. Yes. I mean, for that, you can just create a issue on the Unity SDK to fix it, or if you're comfortable with it, you can just create a pull request where you just fix it, and that should be a quick merge. Next question is from Ledge. Does Resonite link allow spawning of Protoflex nodes and connecting them? Basically, wonder if I can make something like protograph. Yes, the Resonite link essentially allows you to manipulate, the Resonite's data model, and the way Resonite's built, pretty much everything is data model, meaning you can also, spawn and connect Protoflex nodes with it. I've later seen some people do stuff with it, so it's definitely possible. The next question is from Sprocket. Sprocket is asking, after Unity is phased out as the renderer, what will you be moving to? Just Direct Vulkan or something else? So I can tell you it's not gonna be a direct Vulkan. Making completely own render from scratch, that's like a really huge undertaking, and we don't need it like, you know, to be like that custom. Like, it would take a really, really long time. So it's you know, we're not gonna go that route. That would like take like way too long and be very kind of very like unnecessary. We do want to like base the render on some existing solutions, like an open source renderer, or at least like a framework for building a renderer. However, the decision on which one has been made yet. We have a sort of like a road towards a new renderer, which has 4 phases. We're still currently like have phase 1 open, which is just compiling sort of the requirements for the renderer. But once that phase is closed, we're gonna go to phase 2, and part of phase 2 is actually looking what possible renders we can move to and sort of evaluating our list of requirements against those renders. And we can be like, okay, this one like has all these features, this is missing this is missing this. So we're gonna go like in a list, and we can sort of evaluate them and make the decision based on that evaluation. What would be the best one for us to go with? There's definitely a few, like we've already kind of like, you know, been floating around. You know, Godot, that's like one that kind of floats around a lot. We've been like, you know, talking about like Bevy, like it has like a rendering engine, Stride, like the engine. There's some like frameworks like Ogre and other stuff, but the decision hasn't been made yet. Like, we need to still make sure the list of requirements is, you know, finished, and you know, once we kind of have that, like, we're gonna go through the evaluation phase, because we're probably gonna invest a lot of time into it. So we want to make sure we make the, like, you know, the best decision we can. The one thing I'm gonna say though, we do definitely want the render, like one of the requirements is that it uses Vulkan for rendering. So it'll use Vulkan under the hood, but we're not gonna be using, like, you know, Vulkan directly. It'd be way too much.
Yeah, I don't want to write that kind of boilerplate, man.
The next question is from computer user fake. I've heard you, and I think other team members, mention plans for something referred to as the workshop for arbitrary item uploads. Would this be a Resonite specific thing, or would it use the Steam workshop? It would be Resonite specific. There's like 2 reasons. Actually, there's probably multiple reasons, but one of the reasons is we want it to be fully integrated with Resonite. So, you know, like, there's gonna be like a tab in your dash where you can, like, you know, search things. But we can also integrate it. So, like, for example, when you first join in, we can show a screen that's just the workshop filtered to avatars and be like, would you like any of these avatars, you know, when you come in? Or say, for example, using the material tool, do you want to be like, you open a menu and it'll be like search materials, and it's just gonna show all the materials from the workshop, you know, already kind of filtered. You select one in, it just loads it in, and it's, you know, well integrated, like, you know, with the workflow. Same thing, you know, for example, with Protoflux. Say, once we have custom, like, you know, nested nodes, you can just search the online library of workshop to find like a useful node for something you need, and just, you know, spot it in, all, like, you know, fully integrated. So having something that integrates well with Resonite is one of the big reasons for it to use, you know, a custom system. You don't need to, like, you know, leave the game to, like, install content externally. You can be, like, you know, working on stuff and finding things. Same, like, you know, if you're in game, or, like, you know, in a world, you don't want to be, like, leaving, go on Steam Workshop to, like, you know, find things. You just want to find it in game because you already, you know, in there. The other one is because we also publish outside of Steam, and we want to, like, you know, publish more outside of Steam. So, if it was like aligned to Steam Workshop, they would essentially make it impossible to do that. Which, like, you know, like, if you install Resonite outside of Steam, then, you know, you don't get Workshop, and that would be pretty bad. Next question is also from computer user fake. Do you still have the photos that were used to create USA Pizza 3D scan? If so, could it technically be possible to make it into a Gaussian splat? Yes, I have them. I archive all my photos for 3D scans. I don't want to process more things as Gaussian splats, but I haven't been able to, like, spend time on it recently. I actually need to like buy the software because like since they made it paid, like I haven't really used it because I'm like I was kind of like I don't want to spend on the license right now.
You could put in the elbow grease and use one of the free pipe. I know it's not as streamlined or nice to use, but you could, if you really wanted it to be free, still use one of the free pipelines to do it.
But I've also found them like not as good, so like it's kind of like I don't know. I'd have to mess with it.
I'm trying pretty good splats with open splat.
I'd have to try it. I mean, like, if I end up, like, doing that, I'll probably just end up, like, automating it or something. And it'll be like, then I'll have the urge to, like, okay, like, I want to integrate this into Resonite now.
Yay.
We'll see. Let's see if I get some time to mess with it. And the last question that is from Discord is from Yosh. This is a big one, so I'm gonna make it here. Yosh is asking... I oftentimes think very hard about like one specific system in engine architecture and approach it from very academic perspective, studying how it's designed, implemented, works with other things, how it could potentially be changed, and implications of such change, both good and bad. Sometimes I aimlessly write ideas down in text, sometimes I sketch up stuff on paper. Do you do this? As in really truly deeply ruminate over something in the engine after it's been implemented, days, months, or years later? I tend to find both benefits and flaws in my eyes when doing so, and it sometimes leads to more insight revelations that better design could look like. It's why I usually question so abstractly about one thing. I want to jerk ideas and bring attention to decisions that might have been made once taken or granted on. So in some way yes, but also in some ways no. Usually when I ruminate about things, it's not focused on one specific thing, but more like, how it kind of fits with everything else, because to me, that's like the most important thing, is like how the system fits together, how well like modular it is, and how the systems are going to interact, and how are things going to, how the responsibilities of different systems kind of separated from each other, but also how they create a cohesive whole. So in a way, like, it's almost like, imagine the piece is like, a puzzle piece, and you can think like how differently this individual puzzle piece can be shaped, but then it doesn't, fit with everything else. So to really like, think about it, like I usually have to consider how it fits in the whole picture. And actually, that's something I do as part of the design phase. Like usually before I even implement something, like I will actually write lots and lots of notes, and you might have seen those notes around. But I'll essentially spend a lot of time writing notes, and during the design process, what I'll do is like I'll be like, okay, these are the requirements. I want a system to be able to this, and I usually will like sort of mentally work through, okay, I want the system to be able to do this. What are other things I might want the system to do in the future? What are the things and systems I would want it to interact with, like a year from now, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and sort of work through all the different possibilities. And usually during that process, I will run into like some issues and be like, okay, this design would kind of break down if I use it this way. It would break down if I use it this way. So it's kind of like, sort of thinking how will I implement things in the future with this particular system years down the line. And that's, the part of the process is not thinking about just the system in isolation, but thinking how it will interact with everything else, how all the systems kind of, fit together. And that's a very, very important part of like, how I kind of design Resonite and how I design systems for it. So before I even write, a single piece of code, like I've already like, run the system through so many, iterations and thoughts and possible ways how it will like interact with stuff. Where I have to feel comfortable that it's going to be able to handle and adapt to things, for years down the line. And even potentially, changing some of how the system interacts, that sort of modularity is actually built in, because one thing that does happen is, like I will put a system in place and it kind of works, but then like, over time, requirements and other systems might change, like, things sort of morph, and over years, I sort of accumulate, like ideas and be like, okay, like this doesn't quite work well with this is not quite optimized for this is not quite optimized for this. But it kind of comes down back to like, is not a single piece, it's how the piece interacts with the whole. So I will usually not like look at the individual system, like, but I always like look at it in context of how everything sort of fits together. Because you can't kind of, you know, look at a system in isolation, but I find it's not that useful. Because, you know, then like you try to put in the thing and you find, okay, this doesn't fit with anything else and it doesn't interact well with those systems. So usually when I do redesign systems, it's because, like, you know, there's been sort of a lot of accumulative experiences and seeing how the system is used in practice and how it sort of behaves that influences the future design. And a lot of those influences are from interactions with other, you know, systems. And actually, there's been like a number of systems which, like, you know, end up like redesigning them, like, you know, down the line, where, you know, some of that's kind of like built into like the modular approach as well, where I sort of like, you know, accumulated enough information and was like, okay, I know how I want to redesign the system, so it kind of fits even better with everything else. You know, it's even more powerful, it's more optimized, which is actually another thing, because, like, you know, you don't want to spend too much time, you know, doing deep optimizations for a singular piece, because you might find, okay, like, you don't actually need that piece needs to be different. So sometimes the implementation itself, like the internal one, is gonna be, you know, not the most optimal one, but one that kind of, like, you know, has good modular boundaries, which allows that piece, you know, to be replaced with a better, like, implementation down the line that still preserves the outward behavior. And it's actually, like, you know, where I spend a lot of my time too, is like thinking how well isolated, like, you know, the individual systems are. What are their responsibilities? Because one thing I find is, like, when people don't spend too much time on design, is they will sort of mix different responsibilities into the same system, and that makes the system hard to replace, because you try to optimize it for one thing, but now it just breaks interactions with other systems. So having a very strongly defined responsibilities for each system is like very important part of the design philosophy, and a lot of like behaviors are, you know, kind of like done by composition of different systems together. So yes, I do spend like a lot of time kind of, you know, thinking about it, but it's less about, like, you know, focusing on one piece, but it's like, you know, focusing how does that, like, you know, fit in the big picture, how does that fit, you know, with everything else. And usually, like, after, like, you know, like, once I kind of see some, because there's like with a lot of systems, there's like sort of like emergent patterns, you know, stuff like you didn't, like, you know, I didn't consider, like, at a time, or like maybe I wasn't sure about how they would, like, you know, work out. So I kind of, like, you know, like once I kind of gained that knowledge, it's I kind of lost my train of thought. Like, it is important, like, you know, making sure everything kind of fits well together, and sort of systems like build on top of each other. And like, it's something that's been like very worthwhile, because, you know, that's, I feel, one of the most powerful parts of Resonite is how everything sort of works together. Like, you know, you get like very, very powerful combinations by combining lots of systems, and lots of new additions keep like building on existing systems and opening, like, you know, whole new set of possibilities just by the virtue of those systems existing within, you know, within the same system. You know, even if those systems are not designed to, like, you know, specifically work with each other, the environment they are in is, and that opens a lot of possibilities, and it's one of the things that makes Resonite, you know, both so flexible, but also allows us, you know, to like rip out systems and replace them while still keeping, you know, user content working. And, you know, sort of preserving, like, you know, that kind of long-term backwards compatibility. I think I rambled on this enough. Okay, so that's all the questions we got from Discord, which means we can now move to the questions from Twitch. So let's have a look. There's quite a few piled in. Starting with a fun one. So Cartridge and Flex is asking, ARM Linux or Leg Linux? I'm sorry, I use Linux, so you can answer that one.
Elbow Linux.
Elbow Linux, you heard it here first. Elbow Linux is where it's at.
Like elbow macaroni.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm hungry.
Oh my god. Amelia Faust is asking, so Resonite merchandise. I would be willing to buy gloopy earrings or a pendant. Any thoughts on selling something like that? Even a keychain? That'd be kind of cool. And it's actually one of those questions I would recommend bringing to the marketing team office hours that are every Monday. This might be a good idea to, to bring up with them. But definitely look like more merch that, like, if people have interest in it. Nuki-kun, advice for using the new consumable component. I looked at it last night and it's awesome and I should convert my old stuff to it. I mean, I don't know what specific advice I would give. Like, it is designed to kind of cover like a lot of different kind of use cases. We can make, items that we can eat like in stages, like it just kind of just jump and like switches to a stage. You can make items that like, have continuous eating, like, like the Gearbell, like chicken wings, like, or chicken legs, like, which like, smoothly transition. It's designed for a lot of like different use cases, so feel free to like use it. It's made to like, make those setups simpler, more efficient, and kind of expandable in the future too. Timolas is asking, can worlds have the ability to override avatar shaders to force specific art style, for example? No, you cannot override the specific shaders on the avatar, and I don't really see that being like a thing. Maybe like you could do something with like...
This is actually a thing you can do in VR chat.
So from say again?
This is actually a thing I have seen some people do over in like VRC or whatever for like their world.
Interesting. I mean, the one part I find like interesting about it is like, how do you like account for all the variability that exists on the avatar, making sure like it actually looks okay? Like you could like do like a post-processing filter, but like for the avatar itself, like, say it might be kind of trickier. Like once we do have component access, you could maybe do something like that will try to convert it. I don't know how the success rate of that would be, but also like I feel that's something, that might be a little bit like frowned upon because people are, very particular about their avatars, and if you like, override it without their permission and say like even worse, it ends up actually messing up their avatar, I think that would probably make a lot of people upset. So the way I would probably do it is like do like, post-processing filters on the world, but...
On the other hand, if a world wants to enforce a particular experience, it is kind of the world's right, I guess. And I have seen some people in VR chat do this, like for there's one world in particular, I don't know what it was called, but it was done for a club to basically turn off everyone's emission shaders so that the club lighting, when the club goes black from like the lighting that they're pumping into it, it actually goes dark and there's not like a bunch of emissive avatars like around, kind of ruining the mood.
I mean, that sounds a little bit like more narrow, like, because like when you say like ability to override avatar shaders, it sounds to me more like you can rewrite the whole shaders, like just completely, like you say somebody's using Toonie shader, you turn it into PBS, or somebody's using PBS avatar, you turn it into Toonie one, or and I feel it would be like difficult to like accounting for all the different effects you have on the avatar, because people can stack shaders to like get a specific effect, and once you kind of override it, now it's broken. So
yeah,
while the world and that's kind of what I'm saying, like why the world could do it on technical level, I feel if you start like doing it to people, especially on here, like people would probably get upset with that world for messing with their avatar that way. So I guess it kind of depends, to what level you want to like modify them. But if you wanted to like completely convert to a completely different style, I intuitively feel that's not gonna end well.
I think it mostly just like forced like a fallback to the PBS like default or whatever. I really don't know how it works. I'm not an expert on VR chat shaders. I just know that someone did it for their club and it worked out really well.
I mean, that almost sounds more like I don't know, like I will need more like details like for this. But that one
Yeah,
like sounds to me
have
more
no
like just
clue.
like working with emissives, so like I feel that's like, you know, different to like completely converting the avatar to a different style.
Hmm.
Yeah, like if you want to give more details that can help, like, you know, but like if you generally want to overwrite avatar shaders, right now you kind of can't, like you could sort of do it like by like doing extra stuff, but even like if we like once you can do it in a technical level, depending on what you do, I think there's gonna be like with like, you know, depending what do you do, if you like do like really big changes to people's avatars, like I think people might not like doing that. At least that's kind of my take on it. Oh, we already answered that one. Deveros is asking thoughts on the death of Rec Room. So that one kind of surprised me because like I thought like Rec Room, like, you know, that were doing pretty good. Like, you know, they had like quite a bit like user base, they had like, you know, a lot of funding, so it's not a company I kind of expected to die. And it's kind of, you know, it is sad because like, you know, it is like, you know, less stuff you can do like in VR. And there's a lot of people, you know, who now like, you know, build a lot of stuff, build a lot of friendships, build a lot of like just memories, you know, on the platform, and now it's gonna be gone. So it's definitely like, you know, it's pretty like sad news. It's also weird for me because like, you know, like we're smaller than Rec Room is, but like we're like, you know, we've been profitable. We kind of had to because like, you know, we want to keep like, you know, ownership of the company, so like we kind of have to, you know, stay in like, you know, keep our numbers in the black. And it's so weird for me that like, you know, us like even with smaller community we're sustainable, whereas, you know, David, a much bigger community and much bigger team, we're not. So it's I don't know, it's weird. It's one of those companies like where like, because there's, you know, some other platforms that kind of like, you know, we've seen die in the past, and there's like some like where, given how they were going, like, you know, didn't really have like much of an activity. Like it was kind of expected, you know, like when you know, when it happened to certain platforms, like it wasn't much of a surprise, you know, it was like it didn't catch on. So, but the Rec Room, you know, was active, like had a lot of people, and they died like anyways, and it's gonna, I don't know.
Yeah, it's very unexpected. Like I have like friends who like came here from Rec Room, and like, you know, from everything like they describe about it, like, you know, it was still a bustling platform even though they didn't like go there much anymore. Like a lot of people still did.
Yeah.
And like I also thought it was like going pretty good. Like I thought like a platform like that was like making bank like Roblox did, right? Like how, like what happened, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it makes me wonder.
Yeah, I kind of wonder too, because like I would think like they're, especially because they also have like, you know, sort of creator economy and stuff, like I thought like they would be good, but it's kind of like, you know, I wonder like if it's maybe like, you know, they're like pushed to like make more, or maybe like they were not like very efficient with their spending, or like what kind of contributed to like, you know, them actually kind of dying. Because actually, I think one of the things they did say, like they're shutting down because they didn't find a way to make the platform profitable. And it's kind of like, you know, what's so weird for me is that like, you know, we with like much smaller community, we can stay profitable and kind of keep going. And you think having a lot more users would actually make it easier because you get better economies of scale. But it was not like enough. But yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, my heart really goes out to all the Rec Room people out there, both like the developers and the players, because like I can't imagine like how crushing that must feel.
Yeah.
To like have like your like creation, the thing that like you spent a good chunk of your life on. That's like now a chapter that's done.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Well,
it's crazy.
I mean, we kind of got close to that with our community, like in the past too.
Yeah,
we managed to survive, but it is spooky, when it's a place you spend a lot of time in, where like like it's your kind of social life, and it just goes poof.
Yeah, and that's what I mean though, is that like we did survive, but I can only imagine how it would have felt had we not.
Yeah. Oh no. Navy 3001 is asking, did you hear Resonite is closing 2026 April Fool's joke? No, we didn't go there. I mean, the thought of doing April Fool's, like, oh hey, like we're done with Resonite, like or something like that, like crossed my mind, but like I was like, no, not that one. Like usually my April Fool's stuff is like I wanna do goofy stuff. I wanna like be like especially this year I wanna be like little troll people a little bit, be evil for a day. But not that evil. Actually, no. I guess the question would be worse. But no, I like to do like fun stuff. Then also like kind of mix in things. There's actually the thing with the consumable component, because like my whole idea like with this year April Fools was just be like all the things that people would like not actually want in. They were like very controversial, and like just kind of poke like fun at it, and like literally be like, okay, release notes, NFTs. Vibe coding, LLM, limited consumables, stuff that like, is very controversial, and people would be like, get a heart attack like seeing it actually added in. There's actually one that like didn't even make it in. I actually went to Chroma during like our team meeting, and I was like, does Selfie allow selling wallets? Because like the idea was like like we can also be like, oh, also introducing the Resonite wallet. It supports wide number of currencies, like and like blah blah blah, and like make it sound like a crypto wallet, but like and then you look at it and it's just a like literal physical wallet you can buy as a merch. And it would kind of add like to the theme of the April Fool's joke. But unfortunately, Selfie doesn't offer wallets, so that one didn't happen. But yeah, like it was I don't know, it was kind of fun. But like the part with the consumable component was like it's something I actually wanted to add for a good bit, make it like easier for like make edible items, and I was like, this is perfect time to add it, because the way I can word it in the changelog can be like, oh, like it sounds like the limited use consumables that like that like people like were like upset about. And it was like one of my funniest things is like like when I pushed the build, I joined like a session, everybody's having fun like minting colors, and like and then like I see like Ozzy's like looking at a consumable component. I just see them like realizing, wait, this is just a useful component. And that was kind of my ideas, like make it look like it's a joke, but like have it legitimately be actual useful feature that you can use to build your content, just kind of worded in a way that like looks looks sus. Oh my god. Look, check the Froox Otter. I love NFTs. You've seen it here on stream.
Alright, Jack, you're going down in history. It's on the internet permanently. It's minted
It's on the internet permanently. It's on the Twitch chain.
It's on the Twitch. It's on the Resonite chain.
It's gonna be on YouTube, so it's gonna be on the U chain.
Uchi.
But it was fun. It was also fun. Like I was a little bit worried also with the update because I was like, what if people don't realize it's a joke or something? What if people get upset anyways? But like, I kind of like, you know, when my brought it up like during the teamy thing, like people like everyone on the team was like, no, just do it, do it. If somebody doesn't get like that as a joke, people will tell them. Like enough people will realize it's, you know, just and fortunately pretty much everybody was, you know, just having fun with it. So it was kind of fun.
Have you seen? Have you seen the quote unquote like the open sea thing that someone made for the colors?
Oh yes, yeah, it was very funny.
Yeah, the thing.
Yeah, it minted the colors.
Yeah, you can see who minted what colors. So if I put in my name, you can see that I need to let it access the API. You can see that I messed up one of my colors.
Oh no. I mean, this is good too.
Yeah. What colors did you mint?
I essentially minted my palette. There's like another idea too, like I had is, you know, like what if we could own a color, and like a part of it is also like, you know, it's interesting social experiment, you know, like what colors people get and what colors will be like contested. And one thing I would want to do is like actually plot this, like, you know, in 3D and visualize, okay, people are like those colors and be like, okay, it's just like one of those fun things. It actually part of like what this was inspired. Oh my god, so many colors. Yeah, Jack minted a lot.
Jack.
Part of like, you know, what inspired this was like, you know, when Reddit, they did like the what's it called, like r/place, like where you could like, you know, draw on the shirt like, you know, pixel, and like I forget the exact thought process I had, but I was like, what if we could make it that he could own a color? And actually when I was like figuring out the theme for the April Fools, then I had the idea like, you know, well, how can I make it sound sus? And I can be like, wait, another word for colors is like a tint, so I can name it non-fungible tints and just make it look all evil. But there was like generally this one's like probably my favorite, like from this April Fools, is because like, you know, people seem to be having a lot of fun with it, like, you know, just messing around with it. And it's also like, you know, it's poking fun at the actual NFTs because it's like, you know, like, oh, like, you know, everybody can still freely use the color, you know, everybody can like, you know, like you don't get anything from it, but you know you own it, you know, it's in the database. And it's, you know, just kind of...
It's in the database.
It's in the database. And it's like...
it's in the data model.
It's data model. But yeah, it's, I don't know, it's a bit a lot of fun, like, watching people, like, mess with it. And it's kind of interesting because it's also giving me, you know, some ideas for actual kind of, you know, social interactions, you know, and some kind of like thinking like what would actually be like useful, like, you know, social features that would kind of like, you know, do similar thing when people sort of interact with each other, and it's like, you know, very fun. So some ideas, but that's very fun. The Timos is asking, question, would you rather have an anthro friend or be the anthro friend? The word is completely unchanged otherwise. Oh, that is difficult.
Well, the secret third answer, which is both.
Yeah, like, I mean, yeah, that's what I want to answer. I want to say just both. Why not both? But if you have to pick one, then I think I'd say be anthro.
Yeah, I would like to be friend. I'll be the guy, please, thank you.
But also, like, if like, you know, if everybody's still like, you know, non-anthro, and you're like the single anthro in the world, like, that's also gonna be weird. I don't know, like, I want to say both. I'm gonna cheat and just override and say like both.
Yes, both is good.
Anybody's asking, day 5 of asking Froox to do a resonance as a Roo. I will strike, maybe. I don't think, actually, I don't know, like, if anybody, like... Did somebody ask us to be a Roo before? I don't know. I forget.
I don't know.
We'll see. Next question is from Jack Waffle 101. They are asking, will you be implementing SDF shapes with blending to replace primitives? So there's two actually answers to that one. One, Ryuvi on our team has actually been working on SDF shapes as like general nodes that you can use with Protoflex and also use them internally for like more spatial variables. But two, it will not be replacing primitives. There's SDF is a very different kind of way to like do meshes. It has some benefits, it has some drawbacks, so it would exist alongside primitives. There's multiple ways you can also do it, because you can do like direct SDF field rendering, which is like kind of very specialized kind of thing, very specialized pipeline, or you could convert it into a mesh, like doing like meta shapes, meta balls, I forget which one's the actual name. So that could be done on top of it, but also like it will not replace them. So say for example you do a sphere. If you do a sphere from meta shape from sign distance field, usually like it like the algorithm that's used for it is something like marching cubes, which means like you don't really control like the exact topology of it, and also like do control the UVs, versus if you use like the UV sphere, for example, you have exact control over the topology and exact control over the UVs. So it's a trade-off. So we would not have those replaced, we'll just have those systems coexist. Oops. Navy 3001. What do you say the progress of Pocket Worlds are at, or just general around 1%? I don't actually know what you mean by Pocket Worlds specifically. Is it like, do you mean like worlds like the bubble worlds, or you might need to clarify?
It's probably what they mean, if I had to guess.
I mean, if you mean the actual feature, then like 0, because we haven't started on it. If you mean that like in terms of like what foundations we have for it, like there's I don't know how there's foundations for it implemented, but actually implementing that as a feature, like 0, like we haven't started on it. Usually we don't like do like a little bit of work like on features. We just like the way I work on something is like I'll be like, okay, I'm working on this thing, and I'll usually try to get it to a finish line before I switch to something else. Sometimes I'll interweave a few things, but usually I want to take it to finish line, because switching between different features, it adds mental like overhead, and it kind of makes it actually slower overall. Computer users asking, is there a way to merge multiple meshes in an object into one mesh? Pretty much asking about something like a reverse merging of separate submeshes button. Yes, you can bake them together. There's multiple ways to do it. One of the ways is like use the glue tool. The glue tool, you can switch it to the bake mode. You can bake meshes, or you can also bake skin meshes, and then like with the inspector you just select the root of hierarchy, like where you have everything arranged that you want to bake together, and you select it and press secondary, and it's gonna bake it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this one here. Zutio is asking, a Linux player here, loving Resonite after several months, but frustrated local file navigation desktop access are broken. Since most of their just dropped X11 for Wayland, now the standard, implementing this feature should be much simpler and sustainable. Is fixing native Linux file system support on the roadmap?
I didn't know it was broken. I mean, I know there's currently like a lack of the folder sorting, but you should be able to access all of your files. There is currently like a thing where the root like page shows a bunch of unrelated folders, but like other than that, it is fully functional. Like I can browse my /home, Cyro, and go to my like documents, and I can like see all the stuff in my documents folder. So you'll have to be more specific with what you mean by it being broken. However, the like desktop window is a bit more tricky, because that kind of I think that comes from
I can
like
actually explain that one.
Right? Yeah, you explain that one.
So for the desktop access, The render, which is Unity, is also like handling access, to the desktop texture. We're using a plugin for that, which is specifically for Windows, and unfortunately the plugin doesn't work under like Proton. Like, it just makes the whole process crash when it tries to access it. So if we were to implement that, like, we would essentially need to implement desktop texture access for Unity rendering under Proton, which, they would probably take like a significant amount of effort, and because we kind of want to move away from Unity, we don't want to invest that much time into it. Once we do switch to render, it's very likely the render we'll switch to will just support Linux natively. So that'll open like more options, but we probably still ask for like help with the community to kind of implement the desktop desktop texture access. But yeah, it's pretty much like right now it will require us to make something work inside of Unity running under Proton, which I don't know even if it's like possible, if we can access those. Like, it probably is some way possible, but might require like a lot of engineering. For the file system access, like, make sure there's a GitHub issue for it. There's some... question from Jack the Fox Otter. Question for both of you. Have you ever played Factorio? If yes, how do you like it? Also, hope I'm addicted again. Actually, I haven't. Like, it's not really my style kind of game. I usually go for more like action games.
Yeah, I tried to play it a few years ago. I'm not really into it. Also, I don't really play video games anymore, so I'm not really into any video game, really. I've only historically really been into the classic ones like Minecraft and stuff, and a little bit of Halo and Half-Life, and that's pretty much it.
I'm into video games myself, but the one I've been playing a bunch is Vintage Story. But Factorio isn't really my style of game. Nukikin's asking, I don't think anyone has asked, what ward are you in? This ward is called Seraphim. This is the winner of the art category in MMC, and it's a really, really good world. I love this one. This is my favorite from the whole MMC. Hemocurb and there's the team, they did a really, really good job on this one. It's very atmospheric. I strongly recommend you go through it. I'm gonna show you a little bit, but I don't want to show too much. So let me switch the camera to third person and be Zoop. There we go. The lighting in this world is beautiful. You've got all these you've got all these beautiful textures. And if I go over here, there's this super cool ceiling with all the planets, and there's a stuff outside, and there might be a fish outside. There's the fish. I don't know if you probably can't see it. It's a lot of really cool things. And when I got into this, I was is this a social world or something? And then you look over there and it's oh no, it's kind of a red over here. And, and you open the door and oh no, there's an eye. Why is there an eye? And you kind of start exploring this world. And there's an elevator, there's a hallway, and you just keep going around. There's more stuff, oh, there's there's more things here, there's more screens with more eyes, and you keep going, and there's more eyes over here, and the tunnel, that's an eye, and well, you can go through the tunnel maybe. It's very dark. I'll get here. And there's that.
It's kind of windy.
It's windy. And look, and I already say 200 okay. There's a lot of okay requests. And we go here, and there's more eyes. You know, there's like eyes are just kind of looking, they're all animated, and like, you know, you look over here, I don't know, it's a big eye. You know, just kind of watching us. And there's like some creepy thing over there. You know, and like, it's a lot of things. And I don't want to like show too much. Let's actually go in the elevator. Because there's a lot more to this world. But I strongly urge you, check this world on your own. It's super neat. I've already showed a bunch. And this is from the team that like, I want to go back to the apartments. From the team that also made Cozy Train and Sunset Galaxy, which were social worlds, which are also like excellent worlds in past MCs. And this year they like ventured into the art category. And like they completely nailed it. Like this is incredible. Like this world is like one of the best like kind of things I've seen in a while. Oh, vroom. So we're gonna go back here. We're gonna back to the safety of our apartment where there's no eyes except yours. So yeah, check out this world. It's super cool. I do have a video of going through the whole thing as well, like on my YouTube, if you want to watch that. But I strongly recommend go through this one on your own. Go through it in VR if you can. It's worth it. It's like very atmospheric, very very cool. Like when I was going through it myself, like I was just thinking to myself, like this could be like it's in the art category, this could be in narrative category, this could be in the social world, this could be world misc. Like I would be like this, but it's like any of them. It's so good.
Since you guys also do have eyeballs, don't forget to blink.
Blink.
Yeah, don't forget to blink, because if you have eyes, you need to blink them. You know, make sure your eyeballs stay moist.
Bad Resonite. In this world, the eye meets you. Okay.
You see, Jack is very thankful that I told him to blink.
Next question's from DevHammer. On GitHub, you mentioned the issue as to why you don't want to raise default nominal size. Could you go into more detail into the issue? I ask this because everyone I know gets the mid 80% turns the setting up and tell new players to turn up preemptively. So the problem is, we've tried turning the default size twice in the past, and it was actually years apart with different versions of LightNet Lib. And what we found, most of the time, it works okay, but like a bunch of sessions, like if like essentially what happens when you increase the window size, it means the library will try to send more data. And most of the time that's fine because the data is variable. The problem is when you do it for literally everyone, some sessions would end up like, you know, if there's a spike of, you know, just sudden packet loss. What it would do is, you know, the library, like when packets get lost, any stuff that's like a reliable transfer, it'll try to send it again. So now suddenly, like, you know, if there's a packet loss, it actually causes the library to send more data. And if the packet loss is because there's too much data being sent, trying to send more data makes it worse. Because, like, you know, now you're like, you know, you're losing data, so it's trying to send even more data to compensate, you know, for the lost data. So now you're not only sending new data, but you're also trying to resend the old data, and it just kind of like, you know, sends like a fire hose of packets and causes the network elements to start dropping. And because every single user in the session starts doing that, you know, now that all, like, you know, trying to send like, you know, a lot more packets than they normally should, which is causing even more packet loss, which causes them to send even more packets, and it just kind of like, you know, that spirals where essentially the session becomes unusable. Like the voices will start, like, you know, breaking down, people will get, like, you know, like really like huge packet losses. Like we've seen even like in, you know, range of like dozens of % packet loss where, like, you know, the voices are just unintelligible. And like what happens in that situation in networking, if, like, you know, if you're getting packet loss with how much data you're sending, you actually need to back off. You need to send less data because like the data's not getting through. Packet loss, because it's random, it significantly decreases the efficiency of the data transfer. So paradoxically, sometimes to send more data, you actually have to send less. You have to kind of adapt to the networking conditions. And the problem is when that value is fixed, that doesn't happen. It doesn't it doesn't fall back. And we've done like a test. We've run some sessions, and that actually ended up like happening. That session like ended up like that spiraling. It became unusable, and like it was like specifically like a Blood on Clock Tower game, and it just kind of ended up like dying. We also did the test like a few years before, where we actually just pushed because it was much smaller, we pushed the change to public. So everybody had a new window size, and the idea was like this should help, and it seemed to improve things. But then like sessions just started randomly dying like that. So I was like, oh no, like why is it dying? And I started testing different values, like pushed an update, it was still happening, tried different values, it was still keep happening. So we kind of had to settle back on the default 64, which is like safe enough to like not trigger it from happening. So it's one of those things like where you literally set everyone to that value. It puts it like the threshold where like the session can die, like even if you have like not everyone set on the value, like you're still kind of below the threshold, but like once everyone's on that, bad things start happening, which is like why we need a solution to be adaptive. And that's also like what happened in the past is like I was hoping to keep the value like at least like higher, but like we were getting problems, people were complaining with the sessions dying, so we had to revert it. And I don't want it to happen again, because we tried a few years later, we were like, maybe there's improvements to like netlib, we're gonna try it again. Exact same thing started happening, like with some of the test sessions. So we're like this is not a solution. It needs to be adaptive. It needs to be able to like lower when the packet loss starts rising up.
Yeah, I've seen some of like our community members say to like preemptively like always set the window size to like 128 or 256. Don't do that. Please don't do that. That's not going to maybe it'll work for you, but if everybody starts setting their window size up, it's going to start hurting other people. Don't do it, please.
Yeah. It's like a thing that's meant to like be like, okay, like you're having issues, like you should turn it up. And like we do want to make it like automated, but like that's kind of like what's also the difficulty there is because like we're like, this is the solution, and people are like, no, we want this, but we're like, we're not gonna do this because of we had like really bad experiences with this, but people keep asking about the thing we're telling them we're not gonna do, instead of asking for the thing we said like we were gonna do, solve this problem. And that kind of like runs into the issue where we keep telling people, don't ask us for very specific solutions to the problem, because they might not be actually good solutions. But if you keep asking, like we're gonna tell you no. You want to ask us to solve a problem. If you ask us to solve a problem, and don't tie our hands into how we solve that problem, you're more likely to actually get a result. But because people keep like pushing like, oh, like we want like this specific solution, that's why people get the answer, which is no, and people get frustrated. And it is also frustrating from our end because we're telling people what to do to get a solution for this, but they don't do it. They keep focusing on the thing that works from their perspective, but from our perspective we had a bad experience and we don't want to repeat that. So please work with us on things. Read read our like submission like guidelines, because they really help get stuff like prioritized. And if people keep like fighting us on this, like it just makes it unpleasant for everyone, and the problem doesn't get solved, and it's like why?
Yeah, trust that we've done the testing to know why we need to have it at this value.
There's also the thing, like we're happy to explain it, but like when people get like especially nasty about it, it's like we don't want to engage with that. Like that's not like that's not okay. it's like, you know, like we expect like certain level of like, you know, like politeness and professionalism, because like we are there to solve issues, not to like, you know, yell at people or be yelled at. So like if people like, you know, do that and like kind of raise the like, you know, emotion and bring it like that, like the only thing it does, it like hurts, you know, whatever issue you're trying to, because now you're making it like really hard for us to engage with it. This... Seven White is asking, would you ever do a tutorial on 3D Gaussian splitting in real life and show how it imports into Resonite? I was actually thinking about it. Like, I kind of wanted to do a tutorial on 3D scanning in a while. I've actually done like one panel at a con, but that was kind of weird because I was kind of dealing with things at the time. It's like, it's something I would definitely love to do. Like, if people are interested, like, I kind of want to do it, like, you know, showcase like some tips and tricks and showcase like, you know, whole process. Like, so they kind of I want to make more videos in general. I just don't oftentimes have energy for it. Seven White is asking, what are your thoughts and opinions on 4D Gaussian splats? They're super cool. Like, it's cool, like, you know, seeing like a video, and it sort of also makes sense with, you know, how Gaussian splits work, because like, you know, you're essentially adding extra dimension to the training process, where, you know, you're not only training the splats to, you know what they should look like for, you know, different angles, but also what they should look like, you know, in different points in time, and they have like enough information to sort of encode that as well. The only thing I haven't like really seen or like to see is like some sort of standardization for the software. It's also like, you know, ways to capture for these splats, because like you kind of need like, you know, more like you can't just do it like super easily. You need more of a setup. So it's like it's not as accessible as normal Gaussian splats, I would say, but it's a very cool thing, and I would definitely love like some kind of standardization for the stuff, so like it's easier for like, you know, different platforms to implement it. Because right now, like, what I've seen is like companies are making their like, you know, proprietary ones, and it's kind of like, okay, we only get to use this with their viewer or something. Nukikun's saying, Rec Room seems to have been shut down by its VC investors due to not being profitable enough. This is a result of hyper-financialization, where investors control what is made and can make insane demands and shut things down on a whim, based on shareholder profit rather than building a product. I mean, yeah, that can happen. Like, it's one of the reasons, like, you know, why we want to keep control of this company, and our company is kind of structured, you know, so we kind of, like, you know, stay in control. And we cannot be, you know, shut down by, you know, someone like who doesn't like the way like it's going. So yeah, like, if it's one of the like big reasons, you know, to support Resonite, and one of the, you know, one of the benefits we have, because our community is, you know, supporting us, we can, you know, kind of stay independent, and we don't, you know, become subject to, you know, stuff like this. So if you want to, you know, if you want like Resonite, you know, to keep going and keep us independent, like, you know, please, you know, give us support. Like, it helps a lot. Next questions from Griffin Phyllis. Stuff like this has made me wonder, do you think Resonite will eventually support having its explorers be able to open offline for the sake of keeping creations crafted in Resonite forever, items, words, etc.? You should be able to kind of do that with the Resonite packages. Like, they should include everything that's needed, maybe except the shaders right now. Once I have shaders that are just content, that's probably just gonna, you know, be part of that. So, Resonite packages are gonna be like a way, because the way they work, they essentially pack everything you kind of need. You kind of need, you know, for that particle content that you exported.
Yeah, fun fact that Resonite... What? I was going to say, just fun fact that Resonite packages are just a zip file with a different extension, aren't they?
Yes. Well, I wouldn't say just zip files, because it depends, like they're structured internally, and the internal structure of them is very specific. So it is a zip file, but it also has like internal structure, and there's bunch of JSON files inside. They also have a specific structure. So like it's not just like random like stuff just kind of zipped, but like it has a specific internal structure. But like a lot of modern file formats, they're essentially like a zip like file with like internal structure.
Yeah, that's only what I meant, is that you can open it like a zip.
You can open it like a zip. It's probably not like super friendly for like editing like that, but you can. It is the container is a zip format. Angel Boy VR is asking, can you explain the April Fool's joke about NFTs for those who don't get it? What does minting mean? What are you accessing? Does it have use? I heard a while back you can choose a color for account, and while I never got it to work, it's the same. I don't know, or missing something. So it's making fun of like NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens, which is like stuff on the blockchain. That's sort of like, it's sort of like a proof of ownership of something, that you own this particular thing that's part of the blockchain. So it's kind of like, joking about that. And NFTs, the process in which they're created is called minting. Like you mint the NFTs. So, joking about that, like we're making like, instead of non-fungible tokens, as non-fungible tints, which are colors. And we just call it minting because it's making fun of minting, NFTs. And the whole point is like there's no use to it. Like it's literally just a fun, goofy, silly thing. We're just kind of making fun that like NFTs don't really have much of a practical use either, but like people take them seriously. So like it's completely unrelated what colors you have on your account. Like that's just like cloud variables. Like there's no use to it. There's no value to it. It's just for like essentially having fun with it, like just being kind of goofy and like being like you own a color in quotes. And it's like that's why even like in the change, like I specifically put like like everyone can still use this color completely freely. They don't owe you anything. You just you own it. It's in the database, because with NFTs, people are like, well, you don't even store the thing you own in the blockchain. You just, there's like a little like ticket that says like you own this file that's on the internet, but like the file is just free, kinda. Everybody can like access it. It's just like it's on the blockchain, so we own it. So it's kind of it's making fun of that. The same way like you own a color, but everybody can still use that color. There's zero use.
Yeah, people like the whole thing with those is that people started using NFTs as like as like some form of like protection or whatever. Like they thought it like protected their asset, and that like nobody else could use their asset. But it's just meant to be an immutable digital receipt. That is nothing. It is nothing more than that. And like they're outside of like the whole hyper-capitalism garbage, like. There are uses for those kind of things on the blockchain. Like the blockchain is a useful technology, just not for what everybody knows it for. It's
not
terrible.
Very efficient either.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much the joke. Oop. Nokikun's asking, would you and Sarah flip the coin that makes one of you unsure but the other not? No, I want to decide.
No.
Oh my god. Nokikun's, we did ask for February, but you never celebrated the rest of us Februaros. Oh.
I recall no such questions.
Oh my god. Seventh Void is asking, can we get a sequel to your video, The Clock? Oh my god, that's forever since I made that. I actually made that like video as like a gift for my mom like a long time ago.
Holy crap, I think I remember that video.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, it's old.
It's so old. What would the sequel be? The sequel would be Digital Clock. I don't know what the sequel would be, because like it kind of ends, with like the universe ending and starting again. So, you know, where do you go from there? The multiverse? It's gonna be the Clockverse.
Whole new universe.
I was actually thinking as a fun, like doing a joke, like do Mouse sequel, and I can have an idea for it, but I would actually need to get like one of those plushies, and I don't have them anymore. Protrusion Froox asking metaballs. It's like a rendering kind of 3D modeling technique with sine distance fields. Just Google it, like you should be able to find a lot of materials about it.
The most common place you know you've seen them is in Portal 2 with the portal gels.
Yeah, those are metaballs. Nukikon's asking, Froox use Doom Quake or Quake 2? Doom. Shell Food is asking, what is the next step or focus for Resonite if it can be shared? It can't be shared yet. Sorry. Not ready to make announcement yet. Nukikon, we need to provide like you need to include your question in the actual message because otherwise we just get this. So thoughts? Maybe? Thoughts?
None.
We have thoughts, non-thoughts, they're empty. Oops. Let me also check the time. Okay, so
Oh no, we don't. Oh shit.
Yeah, we have an hour, but we might need to get to the S tier thing. Let me see how many. Oh, there's a lot of questions. Oh my god, we might need to start going a little bit faster. No one has asked. Schnuppet. You know, I'm gonna skip this one because I got a Schnuppet about the whole GitHub thing. People angry.
Yeah.
People angry on GitHub doesn't help resolve issues. Moonbase is asking, is Photodust using Beppu for everything or just collision? Just the collision. The rest of it's custom system. Computer user, oops. Computer user is asking typunks. I'm gonna say like, just speeding through, I'm just gonna say like, this theme, like actually let me show that on camera. Oop. There's people who made this world. Let me adjust the camera a little bit so you can see it better. There we go. So we've got Hamacorp, like the team lead. They also got Charisma, Jinxies, and Zhao. They have done excellent job on this world, and it's been super cool, to see people, grow as creators and make like really cool things and like even step it up a level. From their previous years, because even like the previous worlds, like they were like a really cool worlds, very like fun and innovative, but like they they moved to like a whole new level with this world, and that's like super cool to see. And also they were actually willing to try a different category, compared to social world, which is actually another thing I like. There's multiple teams this year's MMC that have tried to do something different. We've had for example the Vibes team, they pretty much like dominated the large social world category, but they actually tried to do something different this year, and it was like really good to see. They're willing to step outside of their comfort zone, and kind of grow as creators. So this is my tampons. Do you have a quick one?
I like Resonite. There, that's my tampons.
Yay. The consumable component, Luke is asking, the consumable component makes me wonder how will you top last year's Pride Month update? We'll see. I have some base ideas, but we'll see. Actually, no, I have some ideas. We'll see. You'll see. Maybe. Kai Volb's asking, I don't know if I asked this, but I was asked before I did. But I recently saw a core digital video about animated Gaussian splats. Have you heard of that? If so, what is something piques your interest? That's the 4D Gaussian splats. We already talked about it earlier, so I refer to from the 4D Gaussian splats answer. Jake the Fox Author is asking, does the Elena window size affect voice traffic? I'm asking because ever since I've got my new internet connection, I've had serious problems with voices on Resonite. I think it's a problem with my connection, but I don't know how to properly diagnose it because any unreliable traffic seems to work super fast. It's just voice audio streams are super choppy. So it doesn't affect it like directly, but it can have like indirect effect. So if your LL window size is big and you're sending a lot of data, which is more data than like your network elements can handle, and they start dropping the traffic, like they will drop traffic indiscriminately, meaning like they'll start dropping randomly voice packets, which means your voice packets get affected, because just packet loss is overall is pretty like high. Otherwise, like, it doesn't do it because like voices are not reliable streams; they just transfer unreliable ones. So this is pretty much the only way it can affect it. What I would do is try to set it like really low and see does it actually make a difference, because that's usually the easiest test. If you suspect something is causing an issue, the easiest test is just do A/B testing. Literally switch the thing off, like or lower the thing that you could think might be causing an issue. Is the issue still reproducible? If it's still there, it's very likely that's not the cause. It might be, you just have like a baseline, packet loss, which like, might not be high enough to kind of, cause problems with the reliable traffic because it's able to push enough data through, but like is visible for the voice data. Navy 3001, what percent would you say Unity to Rezo is feature ready? I want to make a short of how to convert your VRC avatar to Rezo, but I'm waiting until it's feature ready. I don't have like a particular percentage of you. I know like some community members that are like working on things that will make that significantly easier, making some converters for shaders and also making converters for like VRChat components like VRC Fury and stuff like that. So I will probably wait until then. We're gonna remove the beta label and make an announcement this is kinda ready for public use. So probably wait until then. I don't have like percentage for you because I don't know, like I'm kinda like I've essentially released the Unity SDK like as a sort of baseline, and I know like some people want to help like make like VRChat specific conversions and help improve it. So I'm kinda just waiting for those contributions to come in and kind of focusing on some other things. But yeah, we'll make a like once refuel is ready, we're gonna remove the beta label and be like, hey everyone, start importing your stuff. Like this is ready for general use. That said, if people are willing to engage with the beta process, it still does help try to use to use it, because it helps Vode find issues with it, and also like people can like if people are willing to contribute like converters for like shaders and materials and report like what doesn't convert, that helps polish it. So like we kind of want people to use it, but we want them to know it's not fully ready. But if you're willing to engage with it, please use it, because people using it and finding issues is how those issues get fixed. So if people don't use it because they're waiting, that actually slows down the process of finding those issues. But also like I don't want like people to just jump in and start using it and be like they run into a bunch of issues and they get kind of burned by it. So like that's kind of why we're like, it's a weird position, like because we're like, we want people to use it to find the issues and report problems, but also like we don't want to be burned by those issues. So like we only want people who are okay, who understand as will happen in the early phases of it. K-Wolf's asking, I just remember I heard a few people say that platforms like VRC and Resonite and all other social VR platforms are going to disappear since less and less people are into VR. What do you think about that? I don't know if less and less people are into VR. Like, I've heard that VR is gonna go away for so many years that I don't really give it much weight. And I've actually I got into VR very early with like the Oculus DK1 Kickstarter back in 2013. And I remember back then, like, everybody was like, oh, VR is just a fad, like there's, like, it's gonna be gone next year. It's gonna be gone, like, maybe 2 years, maybe they give it 2 years. And here we are, like, over a decade later, and it's still going. So I don't think it's gonna go away.
It might become like it might stay like niche, but like there's always going to be people like us who love VR. Like even if I don't play VR much anymore, I still love it. I still think VR is great. I think it's important even to be able to do certain things in our society.
Yep.
Like I can talk to Froox, who is in the Czech Republic, all the way from America, like I'm right next to him.
Yep. Another thing, it can play in desktop.
Yeah, like I don't have to be in VR, and like he can be in VR, and we can both exist in the same place, and there's not really many places you can do that.
And also Valve's making the Steam frame, just gonna be, brand new headset from Valve.
Yeah, if it was going away, I don't think Valve would be making the Steam frame.
Yep. Let's see. Okay, I think we can get through these quick enough. Flush the Wolf is asking, I have a question. What kind of tools do you have to compromise a user in Resonite? I just asked because I want to see different other platforms like VRCHS moderation.
Did they mean comprise a user?
Yeah, I'm actually not sure I understand what you're asking about. I'm sorry.
They probably mean comprise, if I had to
guess. I still don't understand what you're asking.
What? Or did they mean compose? Like, what kind of tools do you have to compose a user in Resonite?
I don't know, like, I'm probably gonna ask, are you able to rephrase that question, please? Like, I don't quite understand what you're asking.
Yeah.
Precision Flex, now I want metaballs, as in we'll have metaballs as metaball hype. I mean, we plan to, like, have metaballs as a modeling tool, so eventually.
Yeah, so metaball hype.
7 Void is asking, can we get skip a leg day toggle in settings that makes it like Rec Room for all those Rec Room users? I mean, you can just... There's a world that does it, but maybe it's gonna appear in Mr. settings, but then you have to wait a year, so I don't know.
You can also make a head and hands avatar. Those don't have legs.
Yes.
Although they have invisible feet.
Nokikons, no one has asked Taipongs, they actually have asked. The Bongmaster is no, I'm more of a lentil. Navy 3001 is asking, with adding VRC Fury, would it mean avatar item toggles will be brought over as well? Yes. From what I heard, like one of friends like Retrowave Hyena, he's like been like working on some of the stuff, like on his fork, and he said like he got those like working, so you get like clothing conversions and so on. So if that gets merged in, like that should convert, which should make things like a lot easier for people coming, like bringing their avatars over, because like it'll just bring a lot more of the avatar, and I think it's gonna be like very cool, like when it's gonna make it like very painless. And from what was explained to me, like I don't really play VRC myself, so I'm not familiar with VRC Fury, but like the way I understand it, like most of the stuff actually, VRC Fury actually makes it very easy to convert it to Resonite, versus if it's like set up purely in VRC, like in the animator, because animator can get like very complex with like using blend trees to like do math and stuff, like that is much harder to convert versus VRC Fury. Flush the Wolf is asking, I have a question. What kind of tools do you have to compromise a user in Resonite, like banning muting when they do something against rules? I just asked because I want to see difference in other platforms like VRCHS moderation. So, there's like a standard, like the moderation team has like a number of tools, like they can ban users. There's actually multiple types of bans, depending on the severity, like what people do. But also, what is a very, very important difference, Resonite has self-moderation tools. So we try to give users on the platform as much control over your sessions as possible. So if you have somebody in your session who's misbehaving, you can kick them out, you can ban them from your sessions, you can silence them, if they're being loud. So there's a number of tools people can use to deal with those kind of situations. And oftentimes, that means like you can set your own rules in your session, and if you don't want somebody in your session for, for breaking your own rules, you can get them out. You have that power. If they do something, that user is harassing users in multiple sessions over the, then at that point, there's a moderation ticket, and the moderation team will review it, and the user will the user they either receive warning, or they might receive account restrictions and stuff like that. I do clearly recommend about an hour and a half before this stream starts, the moderation team is doing their own office hours, so if you'd like to know more, I recommend catching their stream next week, and you can ask them a little more about how moderation process works. Angel Boy VR is asking, what does Froox taste like? People say banana or starfruit. I say sulfur. Why sulfur? Why would you eat sulfur?
Sulfur?
I don't know.
Sulfur smells like eggs, doesn't it?
Eggs, or is it eggs that smell like sulfur? Aphrodite 9003 are excited about Steam Frame, and why? Yes, because a headset from Valve. That's not meta.
And it's like a Linux computer on your face.
Yes, that person's kind of cool.
One thing I really want to know is if they have good good pupil tracking, because that's one thing I do miss from my Vive Pro.
Yeah.
Is I want pupil tracking, pupil dilation.
Yep, that's one of the things. I'm hoping Babylonia will get it as well, because I really like the pupil tracking. I actually have a thing, where my emissions will kind of trigger with the pupil tracking. It's kind of, I feel it kind of adds, to the avatar.
Yeah.
Anyways, we do want to do a thing, and we have 20 minutes left. So we actually have a question, for you guys. One of the things we kind of want to do more with the resonance, other than just answering questions. And one of the fun things that we could start doing is doing tier lists. Sort of ranking things, both for fun, or maybe just for finding interesting things. So we can, for example, do doing ranking of Resonite tools, and do which tool is S tier, which is A tier, B tier, D tier, so on. We could do proof-of-flex nodes, we could do components, we could do for example, some worlds, we get a selection of them. There's a lot of different stuff, we could do with different themes. So what are we gonna do first is we're gonna figure out a theme, what we want to do for the first one, and we actually want to know what are the things we would like us to do first. What is the most exciting thing to you? Feel free to answer in the chat. We're gonna go through those to get some ideas. We're probably gonna do multiple of these over time. Also, once we have a theme chosen, we're gonna open a thread on Discord where people, because say for example we do a tier list of components. There's thousands of components, we're not gonna be able to do all of them. It's just tier list of procedural meshes, tier list of furry races. We could do tier list of avatar bases too. Which some of it's also gonna be personal, but
I will say off the bat, we're probably not going to do a tier list of people, because I don't think that would end very well.
Yeah, that is one thing we're not gonna do. We're not gonna rank people. That's that one's that wouldn't be nice.
That's a very good way to hurt everyone's feelings.
Yeah, you'll be this person, you are F tier, and they'll and they'll be sad and cry, and you don't want to make people cry.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of fun things. We just said we're not gonna do this stuff.
We just said no.
We just said no. Yeah, everyone in the DM says tier. Yeah, we could definitely do tools. That one would be quite fun. I think that one we can just do all of the tools. We could definitely do worlds, but what we will essentially do is we're gonna open a thread, and you know, say we do a really big category, like we're gonna do all components or something. We'll probably, or like, you know, all Protoflux nodes. We're gonna like, you know, open up a thread and like ask people for suggestions to post on them, and then like, you know, give like, you know, the ones you want to see like reactions, like upvotes, and that way, like, you know, if we need to like make a limited list, you know, we can like, you know, pick from that, just kind of see like which ones people want to see. That way we don't have to rank thousands of components, like, which would take us forever and be impossible to do.
All right, time to rank the async impulse proxy components. Which combination do you like?
Oh no. Let's see what they were saying. Tools are definitely a good one. Procedural textures, that would be a good one too. Procedural meshes, like I just love some of the procedurals. We could do avatar bases too, like the ones, like it doesn't have to be super Resonite related, although we probably want to do like Resonite related first, but like I'd be down like doing just, you know, avatar bases too. Protoflux nodes, that would be kind of cool. We could also do like, you know, limited categories. Ooh, we could do tier list of like VR hardware, or like VR headsets and stuff like that.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah, to release the world's tier list. The world's tier list is also gonna be cool. Like we would,
Tier list.
Tier list. Like once we have enough tier lists, or maybe we'll do tier list of tier lists. We ask people for suggestions, and then we rank them, and then be like, okay, we're gonna do this one. It's gonna be like hierarchical.
Enum tier list.
Enum tier list. Oh my god. We need to get modern on that. Modern ballooning.
What is your favorite body node?
Oh my god, no, that was so bad. I mean, public weapons tier list, yeah, that'd be also a fun one. Just like the hips. Oh no.
Yeah, man. Okay, yeah, okay, Angel Boy.
Ooh, we could do Resonite memes. What about Resonite memes? Tiers of meta memes,
yeah.
Yes. Oh my god, yes. Meta memes. Meta memes are a good one. I like that idea.
We could do that. What's your favorite chirality? Favorite chirality? That'd be a funny one.
If I like, yeah, like, is it good? It'll be a very short tier list. Like, be like, left S, right F.
Well, no. There's a secret third chirality that you don't know about, Froox.
Oh yeah, there's a no. -1. I have a. Let me see.
No,
I had an. Oh wait, where did I save the meme? I might have not saved this meme. We could do Resonite memes too. I had one that was kind of relevant, but
Dang,
oh wait, I found it.
Secret third chirality.
I found it. For the enums, like, you know, like we'll need modern's expertise.
What's your
the modern I smooth larped enums ballooning.
favorite Unicode character?
Oh, that'd be a bunch. Favorite ASCII character?
Oh my god. I'm trying to think. Oh, favorite math constant.
Ooh, that'd be an interesting one. Oh, that would get spicy with pi and tau.
Ooh. Pretty big contender there.
Yes. Okay. Booble Trail. Oh my god, Booble Trail, yeah, like Booble Trail. Booble Trail will like that'll just exist outside of the categories.
We have
There's some good ideas.
We have UTF-8 support. We have UTF-16 support even.
Oh, yeah. Nokukun's asking. We are supporting UTF-8. Like
Yeah, C# strings are UTF-16 per character, which is a superset of UTF-8.
That's kind of bootleg encoding. Oh no. I guess some just good ideas.
A real
I
minimal
mean,
line reflects to the floor.
UTF-16 is like encoding of the Unicode. Like, I mean, they're all like different encodings of the Unicode like set. And UTF-8 is like definitely supported. So like for example, WebSocket and stuff like that'll be UTF-8. Internally in memory they're like UTF-16, but they're like, you know, convert between each other.
Yeah.
Mostly. Gets weird in some areas. That's a pretty good ideas. What would be the fun one to start with? We could start with the tools. I don't know if it's boring or no. Like for the first one.
I think we could maybe start with
Metamemes?
Jeez. Actually, I don't know.
Would you guys like more? Would you guys like more like more like Resonite, like content one, like say like we do meta memes or worlds, or we want like tools? Like which one sounds good for the first one to like start this with? Because I'm thinking like the first one's gonna be like, you know, fun, like it's like this new thing, but also like you're probably gonna be figuring out the format a little bit.
I think tools could be fun actually, because there are some tools that are not in the main tools list that people don't know about.
Yes. We might do tools. That one I think we could just go through all of them, so like we just Google and grab all the tools.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be... It doesn't have to be technical stuff, by the way. Like it can be like fun stuff, like we can literally just be like, you know, like we wanna rate, you know, avatar bases. Worlds. Content like worlds, avatars would be a good start. Look at all like worlds too. We'll probably ask, you know, for people then for that one to like submit worlds, and then we'll like rank them. Or two or something. We'll see. We might like mix it up, do like, you know, more like technical one time, and then like we do like more content one and so on, and see like how it works.
My favorite component is authority time base.
Oh yeah. Oh, we got thing from Kasoti. Ooh, the cloud is down. What does that mean? It probably means like your system time might be wrong. That's like the cloud seems to be up right now, so check your system time, try to sync it, that might fix the issue.
Check your weather.
So we got some questions. Let's see. Razor Caliph is asking, it seems to be a trend in the future that more of the internet is heading to... is heading towards Linux-based systems due to, well, 1000 things. But I understand the complexity of supporting something like that has been something that you guys have been experimenting with, at least discussing internally. Just curious, looking at the trends of the internet.
More than just discussing.
Discussing?
Yeah, I mean, we have Linux support. We actually...
Guess who's running on Linux right now?
Yeah, I'm running on Linux right now. The majority of the engine runs natively. The only thing that doesn't run in Linux natively is the render, and that's just in Proton. But I helped implement a very I don't know what I call bespoke. I'd say it's like a bespoke kind of architecture where we are a hybrid between like a native Linux process and a Windows process, because the renderer is a Windows process communicating over shared memory to a native process, which is the rest of the engine.
It's really cool. Like when we literally, for us, if you ask us if we render it natively on Linux, the answer is yes, and because most of the process is like native Linux .NET 10 process, which means like, you know, it doesn't have like the overhead of running under Proton, and then just the render itself is just under Proton. So it's like literally hybrid native non-native architecture And it should work. Like, like we have actually, I feel like more and more people like on the Resonite are like using Linux. A lot of people are switching over to it. I kind of want to switch to it myself. It should work like pretty much without many issues. And Sarah did like a lot of work making sure like it works on Linux.
Yeah, I know there are like a couple of oddities on like some more like some different desktop environments like GNOME, but for the most part, it should just work out of the box.
If it doesn't make it up issues, then I'll send Sarah.
Yes.
I'll be like, Sarah, this Linux thing's broken.
Yes, Captain.
Sarah's making sure, like, Linux works good. There's actually, I was also going to mention, there are weekly Linux meetups too in our community. Check out like the Linux on our Discord. There's like a Resonite on Linux like a channel, so check it out.
Yes. I actually missed the splitting like initial release because I was making it work on Linux properly. I didn't want to like switch to Windows to play it.
Yeah. Anyway, Linux good. Like, yes, we support Linux.
Yes.
I can't wait. Like, I kind of want to switch to it myself. Like, I've been having, like you said, 1,000 things. It's like Windows has become like death with 1,000 cats for me, and like I want to go away at this point. The only thing for me is like I need the eye tracking to work with the Vive Pro Eye, and it's getting there. Big thanks to like the Babylonia project, and also the revision project. It's still not quite where I would be able to switch, but like it's getting there, and that makes me happy, gives me hope. Moonbase is asking, do you have a technical reason as to why your system clock needs to be completely in sync in order to connect to the cloud? So the system clock being out of it doesn't prevent you from connecting to the cloud, but it messes with things that depend on when something last updated. So for example, if it checks if a word is open, the way the way that actually works, it looks at the timestamp and is like, okay, this timestamp is from the last 5 minutes, which means the word's probably still open. But if your clock is say an hour into the future and it gets a timestamp, it's like, oh hey, this word is open, but the timestamp of that information is from the perspective of your system, the timestamp is several hours old. It's gonna be like, well, this word is not open anymore because this is outdated data. So generally you want your system clock to be synced. You will have a number of issues. There's some things where it'll break because of cryptography as well, or if you do stuff like TOTP, that requires the system clock to be in sync too. So some security things will kind of explode. But in general, it's essentially the system's oh, this information's super old. It's 2 hours ago, so that word is not open anymore. Same thing, with the thing that checks if the cloud is up or down. It actually looks, okay, the cloud was last online, a minute ago. But if your system clock is, say 5 hours into the future, the system will think, oh, it says the cloud was last online 5 hours ago. That's way too long. It has to be down. So we've got a little time now, so we might speed through the last of these. Angel Boy VR is asking, I'm sorry, I might have been away. Was my question of universe world in the all platform already asked? If so, I'm sorry, I'll later watch afterwards. I don't actually know which question, I might have missed it.
They asked about the old universe world and how they liked it, and if there was,
yes,
I think if it was over here or anything.
Somebody ported that one. Our team is also working on making a Resonite version, so it'll reappear in some form. Aphrodite 9003, meaning native Steam frame support. We hope. One thing that'd be kind of cool is see how Resonite runs natively on Steam frame, because we could actually run the main process as native ARM process without emulation layer, and only have the render render under effects. I think it's called effects.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting how that architecture works, but DevKit, please.
I actually did test shared memory between a native ARM process and a process running. It wasn't under Fex, but it was Box64.
Yes.
But my testing does bode well. There weren't any like endianness issues with the shared memory, and it was able to open the memory file just fine. So signs are looking good.
It should work, hopefully. It's also funny to me that, like, you can literally share memory between, native ARM process and like x64 emulator process, and it just kind of works.
It's so fun. It's so novel.
It's so cool. It's both cursed and also not. King's asking, like that with cows and cats, that's gotta be chickadee, and what does it mean? I don't actually know, I haven't heard that. Navy 3001 is asking, when Resonite has more players, what worlds do you think will become the main go-to world? Game, social, avatar worlds, etc. I mean, that's a little bit difficult to predict because it depends, which way the community will kind of grow. I would kind of expect social worlds because, like, I feel like in general, like, social's like the baseline. That's kind of like what people do. They just kind of hang out, and it's kind of what I see already happening because people say like Resonite's like it's just for creators and so on, but like most of the time on is actually people are just kind of hanging out. They're like watching videos, they're talking, they're messing around with like stuff and so on, and games. And other stuff kind of become more of an activity. It's like something they kind of do. Or you have the activity within the world where, like, people are hanging out, and maybe somebody's, just in the corner, like, working on their avatar, working on some protoflex. So that would be kind of my expectation. Like, it feels like the social is just kind of a good baseline, but we definitely would love to see, a lot of different things. Like, we want to see, like, we want to see people coming to Resonite for lots of different reasons, like to like socialize, to like create stuff, to learn, to explore, have fun. I do feel like this is probably also going to be, like, especially once you add certain things, like, like for example, rigid body physics. I feel there's probably going to be a good chunk of wars which are just people, like, exploding things, and like things are like flying everywhere, and like just kind of having like sandbox shenanigans.
Every piece of protoflex will fall to the floor.
Anyway, we're actually over time. So thank you everyone, for watching. I hope like you enjoyed the stream. Definitely check out this world. Like this world's super cool. It's called Seraphim. And thank you everyone, for supporting us. Whether it's, just by playing the game, like, being part of the community that helps us grow, helps, like, provide life, to this platform. Or if you support us, through, like, Patreon or Stripe, the financial support helps us, keeps us independent. It allows us to keep the lights on, it allows us, to continue working on this program and, kind of keep it our own, instead of, someone else, kind of like making kind of decisions or forcing some decisions on us. So that helps a lot. Thank you all so much. There's gonna be, let's actually see like if there's anybody to raid, because we like to raid people. Which I need to open this first. Let's see, Twitch, do we have anyone streaming right now? But there should be another Resonance next week, so if you want more questions, feel free to ask there. I see Creator Jam, so we'll probably just send you over to Creator Jam. They're doing robots, so I'm gonna do raid. Creator Jam, there we go. Okay, so thank you guys very much. Thank you for all the questions. We've been enjoying the answers. And we'll see you next week. And also there's other office hours throughout the week. Check our Discord, there's like events. So if you want to ask, different teams, different questions, so the same questions, feel free. So actually no, wait, let me see, there might be another one. No, it's just Creator Jam, unfortunately. Oh no, I have to do it again. So, everyone say hi to Medra.
Metra.
Medra. Yay. Okay, so thank you very much, and we'll see you next week, I think. Wow.
Bye.
Oh. Yay, right now. Oh! Did I click it? I clicked it. And I'm gonna stop the stream and stop recording.